Well, good morning, everyone. You hear me okay? All right. It's like being on a Zoom call in person. I don't know where that came from, but there's been a lot of them lately. And we always want to make sure we can hear each other. Welcome, everyone. My name is David. And today, the topic for our service is living in the present. And I hadn't planned on this, but when I sat down here this morning and we were listening to the music, I could hear the wind blowing outside. And we have a really beautiful, blustery spring day here on the Central Coast. And we're hoping for some rain. And we're going to sing a song later and try to project some rain here and draw it in. And that is really what is presently happening right now, right here, for all of us and for me. And I'm reminded when I hear the wind, I'm reminded of the words of Jesus, and I will be paraphrasing. The wind blows and we hear the sound thereof, yet we know not from where it comes, nor to where it goes. And such is the Spirit of God. The Spirit of God blowing through eternity, a divine force of consciousness that comes upon us and touches us at our deepest level. It communicates with our soul. It speaks to our heart and it opens us up. And we really don't know when that energy of spirit, those solar winds of divine presence, are going to blow our way and bless us with that wonderful energy. Sometimes it happens seemingly without any effort. And really it's probably always without very much effort, because Spirit gives and we receive. And our effort is to just be open vessels and to try to create the conditions where we can be present and receive that wonderful blessing of divine consciousness. I was thinking about other instances in life that make us feel more present. And I'm reminded right now very easily of the conflict that is going on in Europe, in the country of Ukraine, and the horrors of war that have once again fallen upon that region. And it's a reminder also of an event that happened in our country over 20 years ago now, 9/11, when the towers in New York were attacked. And I remember very clearly when that happened being immediately thrust into an energy of being present. It was a focus that was so completely real, and I didn't have to think about it or try to be present. I just was present. I was very aware of the suffering of others and of the horrible impact that it had on those people living in New York. For a few days there were no planes flying in the sky, which was really an unusual thing after growing up and always seeing planes in the sky. There was a different energy happening. And the people of New York at that time were experiencing this at even more extreme measure than those of us who were watching it on the news or hearing about it. They were being affected so personally And for the very unfortunate who lost loved ones in those towers, they were being forced into having to live each moment to just be completely present. And I don't know if everyone here can relate to this. I know some of you can, because I know that some people here have experienced great loss. But when we do experience great loss, we literally can just get from one breath to the next. That's what it feels like. We are being forced into the present moment. And it's not so much that we're practicing conscious breathing, which is a wonderful thing to do under normal circumstances, but we're being forced into that situation. And we just go from one breath to the next, because that's all we can do to get through the day and to get through each moment. And eventually the moment to moment turns into an hour to the next hour, and then a day to the next day, and then maybe a week to the next week. And eventually, if we're lucky, the pain and the loss that we are suffering in those moments in the beginning begin to evolve, and we stop feeling the loss. And in some cases, that loss that we have experienced, we really start to have a deeper appreciation for those people than we ever knew that we could have when they were here. This kind of loss is not something that we really want to have to experience to be in the present moment. But there was someone, Viktor Frankl, I'm sure that some of you are aware of him, and he was in the Nazi concentration camps. He spent 3 years in 4 different concentration camps. And he, after the war, he became a psychologist and a neurologist and an author and a worldwide speaker. And his message was a real message of freedom. And I want to read a quote from Viktor Frankl. And he came to this understanding of this quote that I'm going to read by his experience in the concentration camps, where all of his liberties had been taken away, but he realized that he still had something that was his. And this is what he says. Everything can be taken from a man but one thing, the last of the human freedoms: to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way. When we consider that we truly are the captain of our own soul ship, and that we are the one and the only one who can make that connection and to find that kind of inner freedom, words like that have a deeper meaning. We realize that we are not the victims of our outer circumstances, no matter what they might be. We have the ability to choose and to not give those who seem to be our tormentors, to not give them the power over how we choose to respond to the things that come upon us. I would say that's really living in the present when you're able to do that. And I can say that it's not easy. And I know for myself I'm not perfect at it. Sometimes it seems very, very clear that somebody is tormenting me or that somebody is doing something just to get under my skin. But generally speaking, through deep introspection and contemplation, I realize that it's really my reaction to what somebody else is doing that is causing me the pain. We all have feelings inside of us, and when they get triggered by other people's actions, we have a tendency to project outwardly that that person is doing this to me. But one of the freedoms that we have is to choose to take responsibility for our own feelings and to know that we have the ability to choose our reactions and to not become a victim of the things that the world seemingly thrusts upon us. Now, on the other hand, the spiritual teachers of the world also talk about being in the present moment. And they're not necessarily addressing it as a way to cope with the hardships and the losses that we have in life, but rather as a path to avoiding those situations, a way to get ahead of the things in life that come at us and seem to hurt us. And that through meditation and through practicing different spiritual disciplines, we're able to develop an awareness within us that when things do happen, we keep them in perspective. One of the teachings that's become very popular in recent years and has its roots in Buddhism, I believe, is the idea of conscious breathing. And I think that all spiritual practices have conscious breathing in their teaching. They might not just call it conscious breathing. We teach Kriya Yoga meditation here at Sunburst, and there's definitely an element of conscious breath during that meditation practice. And Yogananda used to say the best form of meditation is practicing the presence of God every minute of every day. I don't know if anyone's tried to do that, but it's not that easy. But as we meditate and we develop this expansive inner awareness, it becomes easier and easier to practice the presence of God at least part of the time every day. And I think sometimes that just means being aware of the beauty that God has given us. We don't really have to go far to find the beauty of divine spirit in this world. We just need to look into each other's faces, or to walk outside and look at the blue sky and the beautiful sun and feel the warmth of those rays on our face, or look at the stars at night. It is a beautiful, beautiful world. And we are so blessed to have an awareness that this beautiful expression of divine spirit comes from and is supported by an intelligent consciousness that loves each one of us so much and wants us more than anything to awaken to that consciousness. This type of living in the present moment and experiencing this personal freedom is not something that we can really psych ourselves into or think ourselves into or study ourselves into. It's something that can be achieved only through the direct experience of this divine consciousness within our own consciousness. And through conscious breath and through the practice of meditation, we open up and allow this intelligence that has created and supports each of us to take possession of our consciousness. The act of breathing, consciously breathing, and the recognition that within each breath there is life force, that there is a way to expand our own consciousness just through conscious breathing, is a path that is worth pursuing. If we want to expand our consciousness and we want to experience the consciousness of Divine Spirit, we need to just sit and meditate and focus on our breathing and know that through that conscious breathing is the medicine that will heal all of our wounds and give us the experiences that we so much desire, the experience of unity, of love, of peace. Let's take this opportunity to sit together and to meditate together and to attempt to, or allow ourselves to experience conscious breathing and to allow ourselves to experience the present moment and living in the present moment. And see if we can focus for 15 or 20 minutes on our breath and letting that wonderful energy fill us. And as we close our eyes and sit up straight and we hear the sound of the singing bowls, let that sound penetrate our souls and harmonize all of the energies within us with the cosmos, and follow the sound of the bowls deep within into the hidden garden of our true being. wanted to share a reading today from Yogananda, an excerpt from one of his books. To be spiritual is not to be an angel with wings, but something infinitely greater, one who is in touch with God. You must live differently than the ordinary man or woman who is in touch with only the senses, this sense consciousness. Spiritual consciousness lies in absolute victory over human consciousness. Now, spiritual consciousness does not mean only to meditate. It embraces a very wide field of controlled existence. However, meditation is the best foundation. It is the greatest way to be spiritual, the simple way to spiritualize the consciousness. It will bring into your life all the good you have ever dreamed of and of acquiring. But to meditate on the one side and to be angry or lead a desultory life on the other is like putting your feet in two boats going in opposite directions. You must not only meditate, but also learn to behave. To have spiritual consciousness is to be able to do those things that are in your highest interest. A practical way to understand right from wrong behavior is to introspect and monitor ourselves. Every person should keep a mental diary. At certain times during the day, have a checkup on your physical, mental, and spiritual ideals. This will help develop your spiritual consciousness. So put into your mental diary only the things that are good. Do not listen to negative things. Do not talk negatively. Do not think negative thoughts. Let no action of yours cause anything negative in others. Harm to others act as a boomerang and hurts you most of all. Never be mean. Have resentment towards no one. I prefer some sinners with good hearts to some so-called good people who are bigoted and uncompassionate. To be spiritual is to be broad, to understand and forgive, and to be a friend to all. I remember years ago Norm talking about how it's better to be an atheist and to not believe in God than to have great belief in God but not have any practice that really puts it into action. And I always thought that was interesting, and I know that these days the most current generations of young people who are on the planet now, from what I hear and from what I understand, they're not really that interested in the idea of God. And we use the word God or spirit or divine consciousness or the soul of the universe. We use those terms here, but they're only words. And I think every generation that comes along brings with it a higher octave or potentially higher octave of understanding. And what these young people are coming in with is we need to break out of the molds, the old ideas of a God who is sitting in judgment over humanity. And we need to recognize the beautiful unity that we have with one another, with Mother Nature, with Divine Spirit, whatever name we choose to give it.
must be born again, born of the Spirit and the water, child of the Mother and the Father divine, born in the arms of the circling wind, born in the arms of the circling wind. Marvel not when I say you must be born again, born of the breath and the fire, child of the holy desire, come forth within, come forth within, come forth within, come forth within. Deep in the silence shines the sacred light, watching and waiting for every soul. Oh, my child, stand in the sacred light. Let it guide your way home. Won't you guide my way home? Marvel not when I say you must be born again, born of the Spirit and the water, child of the Mother and the Father divine, born in the arms of the circling wind, born in the arms of the circling wind, free in the light again, my love, free in the light again. I am that I am, my love, free again.